Hello, this is the first in a series of videos about the fundamental theories and practices that should always be considered when creating a computer-assisted language learning environment to give language learning the best chance of success. It's based on a journal article called Establishing a Standard Model for Call Instructional Design, published by the International Journal of Computer-Assisted Language Learning and Teaching, IJCALLT, in the year 2020. I wrote this paper with my research colleague, Dr. Vivian Wu of Providence University, Taichung, Taiwan. The videos are originally recorded to be used by one particular class taught by Vivian, but I'm making it available in other settings as well. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am an emeritus professor at Wayne State College in Nebraska, USA. Emeritus means I'm retired, but I still have a faculty relationship with the school. In the United States, a college is a school after high school that offers bachelor's and master's degrees, but usually not doctoral programs. My academic writing, such as for scholarly journal articles and book chapters, has been cited over 2,000 times. Now, I'm not saying this to brag, but to show you that I do have a lot of experience in research and scholarly writing, and that it leads to a lot of experience in the theoretical basis for good learning, and that we're going to be talking about in these videos. Most of my research has been in the fields of teaching English as a foreign language, CALL, mobile assisted language learning, the flipped classroom, learning motivation, although in some other areas, I've also done some writing on media criticism and brand marketing and strategic communications. Every research project begins with a research problem. The problem our journal publication and these videos were created to address is that while there's a lot of call research out there, a lot of it has problems. Often they're one-time tests, and there are design issues in the research and the instructional elements of the project. Often there's not a clear theoretical background in which the research or the curriculum is based. And there is not broad agreement in the literature out there about the fundamental theories and practices that should be considered when creating a call environment in order to give language learning the best chance for success. The scholarly literature would benefit, we concluded, from a compilation of the relevant theories. Before I go further, I want to talk about some definition of terms. Now, if you're in the class this video was originally created for, you'll probably know these terms, but some of you will be watching without being in that class, so I want to make sure we define them. The first is computer-assisted language learning. That's abbreviated as CALL. CALL is the wide range of computer technology that can be used to assist or benefit language learning. It's something as simple as PowerPoint is computer-assisted language learning, but it can go up to very elaborate systems that are custom designed for one academic program or one course even. Mobile assisted language learning, called MAL, is a more recent term. Now, it's still computer assisted language learning, but it focuses on portable devices such as smartphones, iPads, tablets, things like that, and the ways that they can be used to benefit or assist language learning. And I also want to talk about the term affordance, although we'll be talking about it more in the next video. Affordances are the capabilities and benefits that a particular educational tool or technique provides. Research into affordances is separate from experimental methods in which we test outcomes of, say, participants using a technology and participants in a control group not using the technology and seeing how they compare. In affordance-based research, we talk about, again, the capabilities and benefits that a particular tool or technique provide without having to look at what happens if we don't have these affordances. And then learning design, the hands-on plan by which students encounter and apply new information. Now, formerly, learning design was referred to as instructional design, but learning design is gaining popularity as a replacement term because it puts the focus on the students, not on the teacher. Our inspiration for this study flows from an article that Vivian and I were involved in previously that was a meta-analysis of 200 research study papers addressing call and MAUL. And we found that there were many things. We found that there were significant differences in the way students in the studies used their technology, and particularly their mobile devices, and the ways that the teachers and the curriculum designers thought the students were using them. And that led to flaws in the curriculum design because the teachers were assuming the students would do one thing and the students were doing something different. We found that learning outcomes were often negatively affected by all kinds of problems with limited access, low internet bandwidth, no internet at home where the students lived and were most likely to study, decreasing motivation caused by all these problems, and just overall poor curriculum design. So many of the studies were surprisingly short in their duration. One is as short as 40 minutes of using a technology, and then they tried to draw conclusions from just 40 minutes of using the technology. And there were other obvious flaws that suggested just poor research design and also poor learning design in these 200 papers about studies that we reviewed. So our goals were to perform literature review and seek out the commonalities in the academic literature about computer-assisted language learning, and then do critical thinking to reach conclusions. Our intended outcome was a compilation of well-tested call, theory, and practice that should be considered in planning computer-assisted language learning. We wanted to provide a valuable contextual framework for both instruction and research design, provide a roadmap for formalization of a common set of call principles, and then serve as a starting point, both for actual learning and curriculum designers, as well as for researchers. Here is a diagram that shows our methodology. This was adapted from critical theme analysis. And in this case, the texts were the research papers that we read. So our process was to read each text repeatedly to identify the main ideas and possible themes. That's called open coding. And so what we were looking at was the findings of the research projects, the instructional design and the findings. We grouped and categorized them across the different papers to identify themes. You know, often different writers will say something a little bit differently, but it essentially means the same thing. We performed descriptive analysis. We described each of these methodologies and findings so we could fully understand them. And then again, we did reflective analysis to identify the lessons learned in answer to these research questions. I have to say that our idea of the standard model of call was inspired from other disciplines. In physics, there is something called the standard model of physics. It's a well-established model or framework that physicists use to describe how the universe works, all the way from the smallest subatomic particles up to the entire universe. It's well-tested, it's widely accepted, although they keep testing it, and occasionally there are slight adjustments. In the field of accounting, there's a similar structure called generally accepted accounting principles. And again, our outcome was we identified 9 theoretical frameworks that we say should be considered in any curriculum design employing computer-assisted language learning. And again, I want to make the point, it's considered, but not necessarily all 9 will be used in every situation. So here are the 9 foundational theoretical components that our research identified for the standard model of call learning design. Reverse engineering of instructional requirements from outcome goals. affordance-based learning design, constructivism embodied by student-centered active learning, communicative language teaching, authentic learning materials and experiences, incremental learning, task-based instructional design, gamification, and long-term use via curriculum integration. Here's a model showing how they fit together. Each is a separate theoretical framework, but they fit together and together make up the standard model of CALL. The next videos will look at each of these 9 foundational theoretical components. Next time, we'll consider the first 3 of them: reverse engineering of instructional requirements from outcome goals, affordance-based instructional design, constructivism embodied in student-centered active learning. Students viewing this video for class should think about what we've talked about in the video today and be prepared to have thoughtful, interesting things to say in class. And your teacher may give you some additional specific questions to address, to answer either before class or when you come to class. Thank you for your time today. I've enjoyed talking with you, and hope you have found something interesting in this first of our videos on this subject.